Тема наступного брифінгу – головні тренди, прогнози та можливі ризики за підсумками місцевих виборів в Україні. Нашими спікерами є голова Центру політичних студій та аналітики Віктор Таран, голова громадської організації «Слово I Dilo» Yevhen Zaika, експерт Центру політичних студій та аналітики Серgiy Kornylyuk, а також оглядач інформаційного порталу «Slovo I Dilo» Oleksandr Radchuk. Шановні колеги, я запрошую вас до мікрофону.
Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. It's a week since the main part of local elections in Ukraine finished. We're talking about the second tour of the elections of the mayor. Finally, we managed to receive all the information on the elections of local members of councils. When we decided to do the survey, our objective was to survey a few issues. First question was whether elections achieved the objectives that were there, and what are the qualitative and quantitative results that the parties received, who are the major winners of the campaigns, because you know there are many ideas. Every party says that they won, and what will happen next. We will try to forecast what the future might be, because in the situation of decentralization, it is very important to understand whether the councils will be able to operate efficiently so that the resources are used for the benefit of the community. The first main result of the elections is that by them we finished reloading the authorities. When Maidan requested that the first we had the elections of the president, then of Verkhovna Rada, and now of local authorities. So we can believe that this system of Yanukovych has been replaced. We received the new authorities, and now the coalition is fully responsible for what is happening in the country. Secondly, we received the renewal of authorities, which means that if we take the mayors, that's 100% indicators, 56% are new mayors. We are still calculating how many deputies to local authorities, new deputies we have about 55-56%. We can say that more than 55% of the deputies to local authorities are new people. So the local authorities have been renewed qualitatively and quantitatively. Now I would like my colleagues to talk about these results in more details. Yevhen. So let's look at the figures. Local heads. We compared which parties won most mandates out of 357 municipalities where elections were held. In 152 municipalities, the independent people won. In 54 Petro Poroshenko bloc, and 30 municipalities, Batkivshina, and 19 opposition bloc, and then Наш край, Свобода, Відродження, Самопоміч, and other parties. So we can make a conclusion that the independent, most of the mayors are non-party members. Also, we looked at the number of mayors per thousand of citizens and received similar data. Talking about elections to the deputies, to local authorities, local councils, the situation is very similar. The biggest number of mandates was received by Solidarity, then Batkivshina, Opposition Bloc, Svoboda, Радикальна, Ukrop, and so on. The result with the mayors of Samopobinch could be explained by the fact that half of the mayors were mayors before the elections. There was no change of personalities, but the Batkivshina and the opposition bloc had developed networks of MPs locally, and it was quite unexpected that Samopomich received not so many mandates, but that was because they put their candidates not in all the districts. Also, we looked at the gender quotas, and we saw that at the level of the deputies to municipalities, we have 24% of women. In district municipalities, about 23%. So 28% of women is the average number of women. So we have, in average, in total, less than 1/3 of women among the deputies. We can talk about the progressive norm about the second tour, because this norm allowed democratic forces to receive mayors in eastern regions like Mykolaiv, Kherson, and Dnipropetrovsk. Then my colleagues will continue. I will comment this slide. We were trying to understand what is the progress of the parties during this year. On the one hand, it was easy to measure because the elections were exactly a year ago, but on the other hand, the question, how can we measure? That was the national campaign. Here it's local campaign. We took the elections to regional, district authorities and municipal authorities, and we looked at the general figures. We see that Solidarity Party lost, and the support of 838,000 of voters. Samopomich 778, Batkivshina grew up. They have now 600 plus more thousand support. In conditions of the crisis, when the authorities lose trust, these results were foreseeable, and the parties in power should either change their policy now, or otherwise they will lose at the next early elections. Good afternoon again. I will not be talking about the figures that were mentioned by our colleagues, those which I accumulated in all these infographics, but as our press conference is called Trends, Forecasts and Risks in the result of local talking about the trends. So first of all, that is about the mayor elections of the mayors, but at the regional level, there is a request to have responsible politicians. There are the former mayors of Zaporizhzhia, Uzhgorod, Mykolaiv, Chernigov. This is some list of mayors who lost, who did not execute on the promises. They did not get to the second tour, or they lost at the second tour. Also, the new political projects which appeared, and the trend shows they have bigger support. Another trend is the legitimacy of city mayors is very low, and please show some more figures. We show here the anti-rating of legitimacy. It's the correlation between those voters who voted for a person versus total number of voters. The lowest rating, or the lowest support has the mayor of the mayors of several cities. The highest indicators are of Sadovy, the mayor of Lviv, Lutsk, and Chernigiv. Why old mayors won? First of all, it is related not so much to their level of success, but it's more about the fact that more conservative voters came to vote, and they believed that the existing mayor is a stabilizing element, or like new mayor, they believed is destabilizing factor. Then another example why new people won in some other municipalities, we believe it's related not so much to the successful political image of new faces, but with achievements by the acting mayor of a certain critical point in personal anti-rating. Good examples could be Cherkasy, where anti-rating of Adarich helped Mr. Bondarenko to win. And the same situation is with Mykolaiv and Chernigov. During this election campaign, the organization that I represent, Slovo I Dilo, we monitor the promises of Ukrainian politicians. We registered more than 1,000 promises of candidates to mayors, new mayors. And when analyzing these election programs, we were using the SMART criteria. And in accordance to this SMART criteria, we were setting certain number of points to the programs of the candidates. If you take the maximum 5 points, the average points in Ukraine for programs of local mayors was only 3.62. If we take the newly elected mayors and if we look at how their programs could be measured in time, then the average would be 3.5. The highest indicator of how specific are the programs and promises we saw in the program of Sadovoi, Bereza, Nasalek, Mikhalishina, Darek. So their average was more than 4%. 4 points. And now talking about risks. 3.6, 3.5, this indicator shows that the program of newly elected mayors are very unclear. And this way it will be very difficult to monitor how these programs are executed. This is one of the risks that the society, that the community will be faced with. Another thing I mentioned already, political legitimacy, and we see that not just talking about city mayors, but political parties as well. The society does not trust certain political forces, and also legal legitimacy. In the result of local elections, we see some precedents when violating the rules of procedure, violating the different procedures, create threats for legal legitimacy. And in the end, my colleague will talk about the risk that the coalitions which will be set up in local councils will be working, but now analyzing who will be in the majority, we can say that we can expect internal conflicts, because in some regions there are different groups of influence that control MPs from the same political force. My colleague Oleksandr will talk about that. A few interesting things. First of all, conflict in politics. We'll be observing such conflicts at local levels when the coalition majorities will be formed. And the main reason why these conflicts will be taking place is that we will get different local authorities than what we have in the parliament. I have many examples. All these examples could be characterized in such a way. The conflicts will be taking place in searching new configurations, that is searching for opposition niche. There are opposition forces that work in coalition. At local level, we will see that because there are many new parties there. Secondly, there will be traditional powerful oppositions. We can see it in Lviv, despite the fact that Sadovy became mayor in the second tour. Svoboda will be opposing him. That is not just about Lviv, but Lviv is one of the brightest examples. And one more thing is personal non-perception. I also have many examples here. Lutsk is an example. In municipal council, the majority will be from Ukrop, 15 persons, and mayor will be from Poroshenko bloc, Mykola Romanyuk. There will be antagonism between pro-presidential team and the team of businessman Kolomoisky. It will be interesting to observe it. Fortunately or unfortunately, this will affect the work of local authorities. Zhytomyr, that's where we have quite an interesting situation. Here, one of the candidates was supported in the second tour, in Zhytomyr and in Vinnytsia as well. In the second tour, the candidates were supported by Batkivshina Party, Ukrop, RPL, Leshko Party and Svoboda. In Zhytomyr, they supported candidate from Batkivshina, and the same thing happened in Vinnytsia. In Vinnytsia, they supported also candidate from Batkivshina. In Zhytomyr, Sukhamlin won, and in Vinnytsia, Margunov, representative of the party Vinnytska European Strategy. That is the party set up by Speaker Groisman, who was the mayor of Vinnytsia. It is also interesting how in Zhytomyr there was a serious battle when voting for the head of local council. They elected Angelika Lagunska from Batkivshina. They elected with the advantage of 2 votes, and Batkivshina, together with the opposition bloc, created the coalition. There's some manipulation there. The head of the local council is elected by secret vote, but from Samopomich, that was supporting pro-presidential forces. This faction was left by 2 persons, and maybe they supported Labunska. These things are quite interesting. Batkivshina is now becoming politically important. There are also some surprises at these and these such parties as Укроп and Сила людей. What is most interesting is that if you take the correlation between elected candidates
На першому місці
the first position has Наш край and Аграрная партия Украины, 33.4%. How we calculated? We took the number of candidates, Наш край, more than 13,000 candidates. Where they had more than 13,000 and 4,000 were elected. Same situation with the Agrarian Party. For Ukrainians, these parties are new and they're looking some opposition niche at the local level. If they cannot find it in traditional parties like Батьківщина, Самопоміч, opposition bloc, they're trying to find that at local level.
це, зокрема, от я їх вже вище
And Наш край, Укроп, Аграрна партія, Сила людей are such parties. This party didn't have any funding, but was working with the voters systemically. I understand that we bored you with figures, so what are the conclusions? The first major conclusion is that for the first time at the level of regional councils, pro-Ukrainian, pro-European parties won. Only in one, in Kharkiv. The majority is getting oriented towards Russia. In all other regions, these are pro-European parties. That hasn't been the case since the time Ukraine received independence. Now these parties have the chance to show how they can act. And the second tour also allowed pro-European parties to go further than only till Dnipro. So politically the second tour has justified itself. Now the issue about early parliamentary elections. Our politicians in parliament have to think about that. We will model the situation. We have modeled the situation. If the elections were held according to the new law, we were looking at regional councils and regional centers, We can add some mandates for Samopomich to that. The first place will be taken by Petro Poroshenko bloc from 150 to 160 mandates. If there are more people coming to vote, there will be correlation, but this is the end of positive news for Poroshenko bloc. Those who are opponents get larger results. Batkivshina will get from 80 to 85 votes or seats. Then Svoboda about 45.
Зараз я наведу коректні цифри, але щоб ви розуміли, що на сьогоднішній
Based on Batkivshina, Ukrop, Svoboda, Radical Party and Samopomich, we form new majority, 234 mandates up to 245. We will have a new configuration of majority. And Poroshenko bloc will receive 116 mandates, now 139. Народный Front we did not calculate. They had 81. Batkivshina, they had 19, will have 73. Opposition had 43, will have 71. Ukrop 45. Svoboda now 6 will have 39. Radical Party had 21, will have 42. Samopomich had 26, will have 35. But they did not put their candidates to 6 regions. There might be 40, 45. And with Rodgenia, now 23, then 34. So we will have a new parliamentary majority, but if elections take place according to the old system, then the results could be absolutely different, because corruption risks on buying votes, they are still present, and the legislation hasn't changed. So manipulations can adjust the figures. If re-elections take place, then authorities will not allow to have them according to the new law, because they will lose. We see that the ratings of the party in power go down. These are the major conclusions. I hope that this information will help you to understand what's happening at the local level. We are ready to give you all this analytical information, and now we are ready to answer your questions.
Колеги, чи є питання?
Are there any questions, clarifications? No questions. Then just thank you. And we are always happy to see you in our UCMC. Thank you.
Наш наступний брифінг
Our